Introduction. The Galactic War Ban. In the heart of the galaxy, the Galactic Council convened for a historic meeting. The vast, ornate chambers were filled with representatives from different star systems, each one representing their unique species. The atmosphere was tense, as today's decision would impact the entire galaxy. At the center of this gathering was a crucial topic: the new ban on human involvement in future galactic wars. For centuries, the Galactic Council had worked to maintain peace and order across the galaxy. Now they faced a dilemma that would test their resolve and reshape the future of interstellar politics. The Council had recently observed a series of conflicts where humans played a significant role. These conflicts, while leading to victories for the galactic forces, also brought unintended consequences. Humans, with their fierce determination and innovative tactics, had disrupted the status quo. Their strategies, although effective, had introduced a level of unpredictability that unsettled many of the galaxy's established races. As the council members took their seats, whispers filled the room. The representatives from the more cautious species, those who preferred stability and order, were particularly vocal. They argued that the human approach to warfare, while successful, was too aggressive and chaotic. Their methods had led to both incredible victories and severe destruction, which in turn had created instability. The meeting was led by High Counselor Ilara, a respected leader known for her diplomatic skills. She began by outlining the need for a new treaty. The Council's goal was to prevent future wars from spiraling out of control. They aimed to ensure that conflicts were managed in a way that maintained balance and avoided unnecessary destruction. The introduction of this ban was seen as a necessary step to achieve these goals. Ilara presented the data, a comprehensive report detailing human military actions over the past decade. The report highlighted several key battles where human forces had turned the tide with unconventional tactics. While these tactics were often effective, they had also led to high civilian casualties and widespread damage. The Council's analysis showed that these tactics, while brilliant in their own right, contributed to a broader sense of fear and instability across the galaxy. The Council's decision to ban humans from future galactic wars was not taken lightly. They debated fiercely, weighing the pros and cons of the ban. Some members argued that the ban was a necessary measure to prevent future conflicts from becoming too destructive. They believed that without such a restriction, the galaxy would continue to face the same level of chaos and unpredictability that had marked recent wars. On the other side of the debate, a faction of council members argued that the ban was unfair to humans. They pointed out that while human tactics were aggressive, they were also effective in achieving peace. They argued that banning humans from fighting could limit their ability to contribute to the galaxy's defense and stability. Despite the arguments, the vote was cast. The majority of the council members supported the ban, and it was officially passed. The decision was met with a mixture of relief and apprehension. While many believed the ban would lead to a more stable galaxy, others feared it would create new tensions and conflicts. As the meeting concluded, the representatives began to leave, each one contemplating the implications of the new policy. The ban on human involvement in future wars was now a reality. The Council hoped it would bring about a new era of peace and stability, but they were also aware that this decision might have unforeseen consequences. In the days that followed, the news of the ban spread across the galaxy. Different species reacted in various ways. Some celebrated the decision, believing it would bring much-needed stability. Others were more cautious, wondering how this new policy would affect the balance of power and the future of interstellar relations. Human leaders, too, had their own reactions. Some saw the ban as an affront to their strength and capabilities, while others began to adjust to the new reality, considering how they might adapt their strategies in light of the Council's decision. The Galactic War ban marked a significant turning point in galactic history. It was a bold move by the Council to enforce order and predictability. However, the true impact of this decision remained to be seen. As the galaxy adjusted to this new era, everyone waited to see how the ban would shape the future of interstellar conflicts and cooperation. Flashback. Humans in recent wars. The Galactic Council's decision to ban humans from future wars was not made in a vacuum. To understand why such a drastic step was taken, one had to look back at recent conflicts where humanity had left a significant mark. These wars were not just battles. They were defining moments that reshaped the galaxy's understanding of power and strategy. It all began with the Zoran conflict, a war that unfolded on the fringes of the galaxy. The Zorans, a technologically advanced species known for their formidable defenses, had been expanding their territory aggressively. The Galactic Council, concerned about the threat to peaceful systems, authorized a coalition to push back against the Zoran advance. Humans were part of this coalition, and their involvement proved crucial. In the early stages of the conflict, the coalition struggled to make headway. The Zorans' defense systems were nearly impenetrable, and their tactics were highly effective. Then came the human forces, led by General Marcus Kane. Known for his unconventional strategies, Kane quickly adapted to the Zoran methods. Instead of engaging head-on, he employed guerrilla tactics and psychological warfare, disrupting Zoran supply lines and morale. General Kane's approach turned the tide of the war. His tactics were so successful that the Zorans were forced into a retreat. While this victory was celebrated, it came at a high cost. The human methods, though effective, were also destructive. Entire planets were left in ruins, and civilian casualties were significant. The Council saw the effectiveness of these tactics, but was also alarmed by the collateral damage they caused. The Zoran conflict was just the beginning. Soon after, humanity became involved in the Scaran Wars, a series of battles against a race known for their brutal and expansive empire. The Scarans, much like the Zorans, were well prepared and aggressive. The initial battles were fierce, with the Scarans using their advanced weaponry to push back against the coalition forces. Once again, human forces, under the leadership of Commander Lisa Reynolds, took a different approach. Reynolds, inspired by Kane's success, employed tactics that combined high-tech weaponry with psychological operations. Her strategy was to break the Scaran lines through a combination of surprise attacks and misinformation. The Scarans, caught off guard, struggled to maintain their offensive. Commander Reynolds' tactics were effective, but they also brought severe repercussions. The surprise attacks led to large-scale destruction of Scaran infrastructure. Cities were leveled, and many Scaran civilians were caught in the crossfire. The Council noted that while the human strategies brought victories, they also escalated the scale of destruction. The approach, though innovative, led to significant loss of life and property. The most troubling aspect of these conflicts was the pattern that emerged. Humans consistently used aggressive and high-risk strategies that achieved their objectives, but often at the expense of others. The Galactic Council, tasked with maintaining order and peace, found it increasingly difficult to reconcile the benefits of human tactics with the associated risks. As the wars continued, it became clear that humanity's approach was a double-edged sword. Their victories were undeniable, and their contributions to the Galactic Coalition were significant. However, the Council was concerned about the long-term impact of allowing such aggressive tactics to continue. The cost of victory was high, and the collateral damage was substantial. The Council's decision to review the ban on human involvement was not sudden. It was a response to a growing concern about the sustainability of peace in the galaxy. The human tactics, while effective, were too unpredictable and destructive for the Council's taste. They feared that allowing humans to continue their current methods would lead to more destruction and instability. In summary, the recent wars involving humans were a complex mixture of success and destruction. While human tactics often turned the tide in favor of the coalition, they also brought significant challenges. The Galactic Council, after reviewing these conflicts, decided that a new approach was needed to maintain balance and peace in the galaxy. The ban on human involvement in future wars was a direct result of these observations, a measure intended to curb the potential for further chaos, while seeking a more stable future for all species involved. The Council's decision. The Galactic Council's chambers were unusually quiet as the meeting began. The room, A vast space adorned with holographic maps and glowing symbols was filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Each seat was occupied by a delegate from one of the major species, their faces reflecting a mix of anticipation and concern. Today, they were about to make a decision that would alter the course of galactic history. High Counselor Ilara stood at the front, her calm demeanor belying the gravity of the situation. She had been a respected leader for many years, known for her ability to navigate complex issues with wisdom and fairness. But today's decision was more challenging than any she had faced before. Ilara began by outlining the agenda, a vote on whether to ban human forces from participating in future galactic wars. The proposal had been debated intensely in recent weeks, with council members reviewing data and hearing arguments from various sides. Now, it was time to make a final decision. The first to speak was Councillor Tharn, a representative of the Vorten species, known for their preference for stability and order. Tharn was a staunch supporter of the ban. He argued that the recent wars, where human tactics had played a significant role, had shown that human involvement often led to excessive destruction. He pointed to the Zoran conflict and the Skaran Wars, where human strategies, while successful, had resulted in considerable collateral damage. Tharn's speech was passionate and detailed. He highlighted how human tactics, though innovative, had sometimes led to massive civilian casualties and the destruction of entire cities. According to him, the galaxy needed to prioritize stability and avoid future conflicts that could bring similar devastation. Next was Councillor Kira, a representative from the peaceful and more progressive Yelnar species. Kira took a different stance. She acknowledged the concerns about human tactics, but argued that banning humans from future wars was a severe measure. She emphasized that humanity had shown remarkable bravery and effectiveness in battles, often turning the tide in favor of the coalition. Kira suggested that instead of an outright ban, the Council could impose stricter regulations on human military strategies to ensure they did not lead to unnecessary destruction. Kira's proposal was met with mixed reactions. Some council members agreed that a ban might be too extreme and preferred to explore alternative measures. They suggested setting up a committee to monitor and regulate human tactics, ensuring they were used responsibly without causing widespread harm. The debate continued for several hours, with representatives from different species presenting their viewpoints. The council members discussed the potential implications of the ban on both galactic security and human morale. Some feared that a ban could lead to resentment among humans and potentially spark unrest. Others worried that not addressing the issue could lead to further conflicts and instability. High Counselor Ilara listened carefully, taking notes and reflecting on the arguments presented. She knew that the decision needed to balance the need for security with fairness and respect for all species involved. As the debate drew to a close, she called for a final vote. The voting process was conducted with the gravity it deserved. Each council member cast their vote in a private chamber, ensuring that their choices were made without external influence. The votes were tallied, and the results were quickly displayed on the main screen. The outcome was clear. The majority of the council members supported the ban on human involvement in future wars. The decision was met with a mix of relief and apprehension. While many believed it was a necessary step to maintain galactic order, others worried about the long-term effects of such a policy. Ilara addressed the council once more, acknowledging the difficulty of the decision and the need for continued dialogue and cooperation. She assured the representatives that the council would work to address any concerns and find ways to support humanity in other areas, despite the ban. As the meeting concluded, the representatives began to leave, each one contemplating the implications of the new policy. The ban was now official, and the galaxy would have to adjust to this new reality. The council hoped that this measure would bring stability and prevent further conflicts, but they also knew that the future was uncertain. In the days that followed, the news of the ban spread throughout the galaxy. Species reacted with a mix of relief and concern, while humans faced the challenge of adapting to a new role in galactic affairs. The Council's decision marked a significant shift in galactic politics, and its effects would be felt for years to come. Human reaction to the ban. As the news of the Galactic Council's decision reached human space, it spread like wildfire. The announcement was made through multiple channels, from official broadcasts to social media platforms, and the reactions were swift and varied. The ban on human participation in future galactic wars had become a hot topic of discussion, stirring a wide range of emotions and responses among the human population. In the bustling capital of New Earth, the initial reaction was one of shock and disbelief. Newsrooms across the planet scrambled to cover the story, and the streets were filled with conversations about the ban. People gathered in public squares, glued to their screens as they watched news reports and listened to live updates. The general mood was a mix of anger and confusion. General Marcus Kane, a decorated war hero known for his role in the Zoran conflict, addressed the media with a grave expression. "We have always fought for the protection of the galaxy and our allies," he said. "To be told we are no longer allowed to participate is a blow not just to our military pride, but to our sense of duty." Kane's words echoed the sentiments of many who felt that the ban was an unfair judgment of human capabilities. In contrast, there were voices of acceptance and even relief. Some sectors of society, especially those affected by the war's collateral damage, saw the ban as a chance for peace and healing. Activists and humanitarian groups welcomed the decision, hoping it would lead to less destruction and more diplomatic solutions to conflicts. They argued that the ban might force humanity to find new ways to contribute to the galaxy, focusing on diplomacy and aid rather than warfare. The reaction within the military was equally mixed. Senior officers and strategists held urgent meetings to discuss the implications of the ban. Many felt that the decision undermined human contributions and military expertise. Colonel Lisa Reynolds, known for her strategic brilliance in the Skaran Wars, expressed her concerns. "This ban challenges everything we've worked for," she said. "It sends a message that our methods are too dangerous, but it's important to remember that we've always fought with the goal of achieving peace." On the other hand, some military leaders began to prepare for the future in light of the ban. They started exploring alternative roles for human forces, such as peacekeeping missions and diplomatic assignments. The idea was to shift focus from combat to roles that could still contribute to galactic stability without breaching the Council's new regulations. In the political arena, the response was strategic. Human leaders and diplomats worked to negotiate with the Galactic Council, seeking exceptions or modifications to the ban. They aimed to address the Council's concerns while finding ways to maintain a role for humans in galactic affairs. Discussions centered around creating new treaties and agreements that would allow humans to participate in ways that adhered to the Council's rules. Public opinion remained divided. Some citizens were deeply frustrated and felt that the ban was an unjust punishment for their role in protecting the galaxy. They organized protests and petitions, demanding that their voices be heard and that the Council reconsider the decision. These demonstrations, while passionate, often led to heated debates and further division among the public. Others were more focused on adapting to the new reality. They began to view the ban as an opportunity for growth and innovation. Educational institutions and research centers started developing programs to explore new technologies and strategies for non-combat contributions. There was a sense of determination among those who believed that humanity could find new ways to make a positive impact. As the days passed, the initial shock began to fade, replaced by a more measured response. The focus shifted from anger and frustration to practical steps for moving forward. Humanity faced a new challenge: how to navigate their role in the galaxy without the option of direct combat. The ban had forced a revaluation of their place in galactic politics and military strategy. In summary, the human reaction to the ban was a complex mix of anger, acceptance, and adaptation. While some viewed it as a blow to their military pride and capability, others saw it as an opportunity to shift focus towards diplomacy and new roles. The ban had created a moment of reflection and change, challenging humanity to find new ways to contribute to the galaxy while respecting the Council's decision. 5. Council's justification. The Galactic Council had been the central authority in the galaxy for centuries, responsible for maintaining peace and order among the diverse species spread across the stars. The recent decision to ban humans from participating in future wars had sparked considerable debate, and many across the galaxy were eager to understand the Council's reasoning behind this controversial move. High Counselor Ilara, who had spearheaded the initiative, took to the holographic podium to address the galaxy's concerns. Her calm and measured tone was meant to provide clarity and justification for the Council's decision. The room was filled with representatives from various species, each eager to hear the reasoning behind the unprecedented ban. Ilara began by acknowledging the significance of human contributions to recent wars. "We recognize the bravery, skill, and effectiveness of human forces," she said. "Their role in the recent conflicts has been pivotal in achieving victories and protecting the galaxy. However, this effectiveness comes with serious concerns that we must address." Ilara then presented a comprehensive report that detailed the outcomes of the recent wars involving human forces. The report highlighted several key points that formed the basis of the Council's decision. The primary concern was the extensive collateral damage caused by human military tactics. The Zoran conflict and the Skiran Wars, where humans played crucial roles, demonstrated both the strategic brilliance and the destructive nature of their approach. In the Zoran conflict, while human tactics led to a decisive victory, they also resulted in massive destruction. Entire cities were left in ruins, and many Zoran civilians suffered severe casualties. The Council's analysis revealed that the human strategy, which involved aggressive guerrilla warfare and psychological operations, often prioritized achieving military objectives over minimizing damage to civilian areas. Similarly, in the Skiran Wars, the human approach was effective, but came at a high cost. Commander Lisa Reynolds' innovative tactics disrupted Skiran defenses, but also led to the widespread destruction of Skiran infrastructure. The report detailed how these methods, though successful, created lasting damage that extended beyond the battlefield. The Council's justification for the ban was rooted in a desire to prevent further escalation of such destructive tactics. The representatives were concerned that allowing humans to continue using their current methods could lead to more severe consequences in future conflicts. They feared that the unpredictability and scale of human tactics could result in even greater destruction and instability across the galaxy. Ilara emphasized that the decision was not a condemnation of human capabilities, but rather a measure to ensure the long-term stability of the galaxy. "Our goal is not to undermine human strength, but to create a framework that ensures conflicts are managed in a way that minimizes harm to all involved," she explained. The ban is a step towards finding a balance between military effectiveness and the preservation of peace. The Council also acknowledged that the ban would not be without its challenges. They recognized that humans had been instrumental in past victories and that their absence from future conflicts could affect the balance of power. To address this, the Council proposed a series of measures to support humanity in alternative roles, such as peacekeeping missions and diplomatic efforts. Ilara assured the galaxy that the Council would work closely with human leaders to find new ways for humans to contribute positively without resorting to combat. The idea was to leverage human strengths in areas that aligned with the Council's vision for a stable and peaceful galaxy. This included enhancing diplomatic relations, supporting humanitarian efforts, and developing new technologies for non-combat roles. In closing, Ilara reiterated that the ban was a difficult but necessary decision. The Council's primary responsibility was to ensure that the galaxy remained a safe and stable place for all its inhabitants. While the ban might be seen as restrictive, it was intended to foster a new era of cooperation and balance. The Council's justification was met with a mixture of understanding and skepticism. While many accepted the reasoning behind the ban, others remained concerned about its implications for future galactic stability. The debate over the ban continued, but the Council's explanations provided a framework for moving forward and adapting to the new realities of Galactic resistance forms. In the wake of the Galactic Council's decision to ban human involvement in future wars, a wave of resistance began to form across human space. The ban, while officially enacted to maintain galactic stability, had triggered a range of reactions among different groups. As the impact of the decision settled in, various factions and individuals began to challenge the new policy in different ways. The first sign of resistance came from military circles. Many veteran soldiers who had served with distinction in recent conflicts were outraged by the Council's decision. They felt that their sacrifices and achievements were being dismissed. General Marcus Kane, a respected leader in the military, became a vocal critic of the ban. He organized a series of high-profile press conferences and interviews, using his platform to argue against the decision. Kane's speeches resonated with many who felt that humanity's role in galactic conflicts had been crucial. He called for a reconsideration of the ban and demanded that human contributions be recognized rather than restricted. His passionate defense of human military capabilities inspired a movement among former soldiers and military supporters who sought to overturn or at least modify the ban. In response to Kane's efforts, a grassroots organization emerged, known as the Humanity First Coalition. This group aimed to rally support for human military involvement. They organized rallies, protests, and social media campaigns to voice their dissatisfaction with the Council's decision. The coalition argued that the ban not only undermined human achievements, but also jeopardized the balance of power in the galaxy. The coalition's activities were met with mixed reactions. While some supported their cause, believing in the need for humans to have a role in galactic defense, others viewed the protests as disruptive and counterproductive. The coalition's message gained traction among those who felt that the Council's decision was a political maneuver rather than a genuine effort to maintain peace. Meanwhile, within political and diplomatic circles, some leaders were also pushing back against the ban. Human diplomats worked tirelessly to negotiate with the Galactic Council, seeking exceptions and amendments to the new policy. They argued that humans could still play a vital role in maintaining galactic stability without engaging in direct combat. Their efforts included proposing new treaties and agreements that would allow for human involvement in non-combat roles. The resistance also found support among civilian activists who believed that the ban was an unjust punishment for humanity's role in recent conflicts. Activists and advocacy groups launched campaigns to raise awareness about the perceived injustice of the ban. They emphasized the need for a balanced approach, where human contributions could be recognized while addressing the Council's concerns about collateral damage. In addition to organized resistance, there were also individuals who took more direct action. Some former soldiers and military officers engaged in covert operations to challenge the ban. These individuals, disillusioned by the Council's decision, sought to find ways to continue their involvement in galactic affairs, despite the official restrictions. Their actions were often shrouded in secrecy, and while they operated outside the bounds of the law, they aimed to demonstrate that human capabilities could not be easily ignored. Despite these efforts, the Galactic Council remained resolute in its decision. The Council's leaders, including High Counselor Ilara, continued to emphasize the need for stability and adherence to the new policy. They stressed that while resistance was a natural response, the focus should be on finding constructive ways to contribute to galactic peace without resorting to combat. The growing resistance highlighted the complexity of the ban's impact. While the Council had intended to address concerns about destruction and instability, the reaction demonstrated that the ban was far from a straightforward solution. It became clear that the policy had stirred a deep sense of injustice and resistance among those who felt their roles and contributions were being unjustly curtailed. In summary, the resistance to the Galactic Council's ban on human involvement in future wars took many forms. From organized protests and political negotiations to covert actions and public advocacy, the response was diverse and passionate. The ban had ignited a debate about the role of humanity in galactic affairs, and the balance between maintaining peace and recognizing contributions. As the resistance continued to grow, it became evident that the path forward would require careful negotiation and compromise. Rebellion against the ban. As the Galactic Council's ban on human involvement in future wars took hold, a more radical form of resistance began to emerge. This rebellion was driven by those who believed that the ban not only disregarded humanity's significant contributions, but also threatened the balance of power across the galaxy. What started as protests and political lobbying evolved into a more organized and aggressive movement. The rebellion was initially spearheaded by former military leaders and officers who were deeply disillusioned by the Council's decision. General Marcus Kane, a prominent figure in the resistance, became a central figure in this new wave of defiance. He and his allies, including several high-ranking former officers, began to form a clandestine organization known as the Human Liberation Front, HLF. The HLF's primary goal was to challenge the ban through any means necessary. They viewed the Council's decision as a direct attack on human honor and capability. To this end, the group began recruiting former soldiers, military strategists, and supporters who were willing to take more drastic measures to overturn the ban. One of the HLF's first actions was to launch a series of high-profile cyberattacks against Council communication networks. These attacks were intended to disrupt the Council's operations and draw attention to their cause. The HLF used sophisticated hacking techniques to leak sensitive information, including internal discussions and plans, to the public. Their aim was to embarrass the Council and demonstrate the flaws in their decision-making process. The cyberattacks created significant turmoil within the Council. Delegates and officials were caught off guard by the security breaches, and the leaked information sparked debates and controversies. The Council was forced to address the leaks, further complicating their efforts to maintain stability and control. The HLF also engaged in guerrilla tactics, using small, mobile units to carry out targeted operations. These included sabotaging Council facilities and disrupting diplomatic missions. While the HLF's actions were designed to be symbolic rather than destructive, they were intended to show that humanity would not easily accept the ban. The group sought to create a sense of urgency and pressure the Council into reconsidering their decision. The rebellion was not without its challenges. The HLF faced significant opposition from both the Galactic Council and various species that supported the ban. Many viewed the group's actions as a threat to galactic peace and stability. The Council increased its security measures and began cracking down on suspected members of the HLF. In response, the rebellion went underground, operating from hidden bases and using coded communications to avoid detection. Despite the risks, the HLF found support from various quarters. Some species, sympathetic to humanity's plight, provided covert assistance. These allies shared intelligence, resources, and even safe havens for the rebels. The support helped the HLF sustain its activities and broaden its impact. As the rebellion continued, it began to attract more attention from the broader galaxy. The HLF's activities sparked discussions about the nature of the ban and its implications for interstellar politics. Some began to question whether the Council's decision was a fair and effective solution, or if it was an overreach of authority. The rebellion also prompted a re-evaluation of the Council's policies among neutral species and those previously uninvolved in the conflict. Some began to advocate for a more balanced approach, suggesting reforms that would allow human involvement in a regulated manner. This shift in perspective reflected a growing recognition that the ban might not have been the best solution to the galaxy's problems. In summary, the rebellion against the Galactic Council's ban was a significant development that challenged the authority of the Council and sparked widespread debate. Driven by a mix of honor, defiance, and strategic interests, the HLF's actions highlighted the complexities of the ban and its impact on human and galactic politics. As the rebellion unfolded, it became clear that the path to resolution would require careful negotiation and compromise to address the underlying issues and find a balanced approach to maintaining peace and recognizing contributions. Council's response to the rebellion. As the rebellion against the Galactic Council's ban on human involvement in future wars gained momentum, the Council found itself under increasing pressure. The Human Liberation Front, HLF, had executed several high-profile attacks and caused significant disruptions, forcing the Council to respond with decisive action. The situation had escalated beyond mere political debates and protests, becoming a full-scale challenge to the Council's authority and the stability of the galaxy. High Counselor Ilara, who had been instrumental in enacting the ban, was faced with the daunting task of managing the crisis. The Council convened an emergency meeting to address the rebellion and formulate a strategy to restore order. The room was filled with tension as representatives from various species gathered to discuss the next steps. The stakes were high, and the Council needed a solution that would address both the rebellion and the underlying issues that had fueled it. Ilara began the meeting by acknowledging the severity of the situation. "The recent actions of the Human Liberation Front have put us in a difficult position," she said. "Our goal is to maintain galactic peace and stability, but we must also address the rebellion in a way that does not exacerbate the situation." The Council decided on a multifaceted approach to tackle the rebellion. Their first priority was to increase security and intelligence operations. The Council expanded its surveillance and monitoring capabilities, deploying specialized teams to track and counteract HLF activities. They also worked closely with allied species to gather information and prevent further disruptions. In addition to security measures, the Council sought to address the grievances that had fueled the rebellion. Recognizing that the ban had caused significant unrest among humans, Ilara and other Council members began to explore potential compromises. They initiated dialogues with human leaders and representatives to discuss possible amendments to the policy. One proposed solution was the creation of a special advisory committee to oversee human military activities in a controlled manner. This committee would be responsible for ensuring that any human involvement in future conflicts adhered to strict regulations, minimizing collateral damage while still allowing humans to contribute effectively. The Council hoped that this compromise would address the concerns of both the HLF and the broader human population. Simultaneously, the Council made efforts to publicly address the rebellion. They issued statements condemning the HLF's actions and reiterating their commitment to peace and stability. The Council emphasized that while they were open to dialogue and reform, acts of violence and sabotage were unacceptable and would be met with appropriate consequences. Despite these measures, the HLF continued its resistance. The group's leaders remained defiant, arguing that the Council's response was insufficient and that the ban itself was a fundamental injustice. They maintained their campaign of cyberattacks and guerrilla operations, seeking to pressure the Council into more substantial concessions. The rebellion had also sparked a wider debate among the galaxy's inhabitants. Some species and factions began to question the Council's authority and its approach to governance. The Council's handling of the rebellion became a focal point of discussion, with many calling for a reassessment of the ban and the policies that had led to the current crisis. In response to the growing criticism, the Council decided to hold a series of public forums and consultations. These forums were designed to provide transparency and engage with the galaxy's diverse population. The goal was to address concerns, gather feedback, and build support for any proposed changes to the ban or related policies. The Council also reached out to neutral and supported species, seeking their assistance in mediating the conflict. They hoped that involving a broader range of perspectives would help to find a balanced resolution and restore confidence in the Council's leadership. In summary, the Council's response to the rebellion was a complex and multifaceted effort. Faced with the challenge of addressing both the immediate threat of the Human Liberation Front and the broader issues that had led to the crisis, the Council implemented increased security measures, sought potential compromises, and engaged in public dialogue. The situation remained fluid, and the outcome depended on the effectiveness of these strategies and the ability to address the underlying grievances that had fueled the rebellion. Conclusion: the future of humans. As the dust settled from the intense conflict between the Galactic Council and the Human Liberation Front, HLF. The future of human involvement in galactic affairs remained uncertain. The Council's decision to ban human participation in future wars had ignited a firestorm of resistance and rebellion, but it also led to significant changes and reflections about humanity's place in the galaxy. After a series of tense negotiations and ongoing discussions, the Galactic Council and human leaders reached a fragile truce. The proposed advisory committee, designed to oversee human military activities under strict regulations, was put into place. This committee aimed to ensure that while humans would not be allowed to engage in direct combat, they could still contribute to galactic stability in controlled and meaningful ways. The new regulations allowed for human participation in a variety of non-combat roles. Humans could now take on positions in peacekeeping missions, diplomatic efforts, and technological development. This compromise sought to balance the Council's need for stability with humanity's desire to remain an active and influential part of the galaxy. For many, the compromise represented a victory of sorts. It allowed humans to continue contributing to galactic affairs without directly engaging in warfare. This shift provided an opportunity for humans to demonstrate their value in new and constructive ways. Human scientists, engineers, and diplomats began to play a crucial role in advancing technologies and fostering interspecies relations. Human leaders and diplomats worked tirelessly to redefine their role within the galaxy. They focused on building strong alliances and fostering collaboration with other species. The new advisory committee provided a platform for humans to influence decisions and participate in shaping galactic policies without resorting to combat. Despite these positive developments, the transition was not without its challenges. The change in roles required a significant adjustment for many human military personnel who were accustomed to direct action. Training programs were established to help former soldiers adapt to their new responsibilities, and efforts were made to support those who had been deeply affected by the shift. The HLF, while largely diminished in influence, continued to advocate for more significant changes. Their actions had forced the Galactic Council to reconsider its policies, but the group still pushed for a more substantial role for humans in future conflicts. The ongoing dialogue between the HLF and the Council ensured that the issues raised by the rebellion were not entirely forgotten, and discussions about humanity's role continued. The broader galaxy watched closely as humans adapted to their new position. Some species admired humanity's ability to pivot and contribute positively despite the restrictions. Others remained skeptical, questioning whether the changes were sufficient or if further adjustments were needed. The experience also led to a broader reflection on the nature of conflict and cooperation within the galaxy. The ban and subsequent rebellion highlighted the complexities of interspecies relations and the difficulties in balancing military effectiveness with the preservation of peace. The situation prompted many to consider new approaches to resolving conflicts and maintaining stability. As humanity moved forward, the emphasis was placed on proving their worth through diplomacy, innovation, and collaboration. The new roles provided opportunities for humans to showcase their strengths in ways that went beyond combat. The focus shifted to building a future where human contributions were valued not just for their military prowess, but also for their ability to foster peace and progress. In conclusion, the future of humans in the galaxy was reshaped by the Council's ban and the subsequent rebellion. While the ban initially sparked conflict and resistance, it ultimately led to a redefined role for humanity. The establishment of the Advisory Committee and the shift to non-combat contributions marked a new chapter in human galactic affairs. Despite ongoing challenges and debates, humanity faced a future filled with opportunities to demonstrate their value in diverse and constructive ways. The journey from conflict to collaboration underscored the complexities of galactic governance and the evolving role of humanity in a shared universe.